Imagine a moonless desert night. 400 knights in blood-crusted mail, white mantles torn and black with dust, screaming a war cry older than their grandfathers, slam headfirst into 20,000 of the finest soldiers the Muslim world has ever fielded. By dawn, the sand is a lake of blood, and the greatest commander of the age is running for his life, barefoot, his empire shattered in a single night. This is not legend. This is the Battle of Montgisard, 25 November 1177, and the day a dying 16-year-old leper boy proved that courage can still turn the world upside down. The year is 1177. The crusader states are on the edge of collapse. For nearly 80 years, the Franks have clung to the Holy Land by their fingernails, bleeding men and gold they can no longer replace. Across the desert, one man has finally united the Muslim world the way it has not been united since the first caliphs. His name is Yusuf ibn Ayyub, Salah al-Din, Saladin. At 39, Saladin is short, slightly stooped, with a thin beard and eyes that rarely smile. He has murdered, bribed, and outmaneuvered every rival from the Nile to the Euphrates. He has declared total jihad. The Crusader kingdoms are, in his words, a stain that must be washed away forever. In autumn 1177, he launches the blow he believes will finish them. He assembles the largest army the Levant has seen in generations, 22,000 men, maybe more. The core are the Mamluks, slave soldiers trained from childhood, wearing lamellar armor, riding armored horses, armed with composite bows that can punch through mail at 200 yards. Beside them march Sudanese archers, Turkmen horse archers, Bedouin scouts, Egyptian infantry, Syrian regulars. It is a juggernaut. Saladin's plan is lightning war. While the main Frankish army is tied down far north, he will cross the Sinai in forced marches, bypass the desert fortresses, sack the coastal plain, and be at the gates of Jerusalem before anyone can react. In Jerusalem, a boy hears the news that should end his kingdom. Baldwin XIV is 16. He has been king for 3 years. When he was 9, his tutors discovered he could not feel pain in his right hand. By 13, the truth was undeniable: leprosy. His right arm is already dead, fingers black and curled like claws. His feet are beginning to rot. He hides the decay under gloves and bandages, but the smell is there, sweet and sickening. Yet Baldwin refuses to be a victim. From the day he understood what the disease meant, he trained like a demon. He learned to ride gripping only with his knees. He fought grown knights left-handed until he could beat them all. Muslim chroniclers will later write that had he been whole, no ruler on earth could have matched him. When Saladin's invasion is confirmed, Jerusalem panics. Baldwin summons every man who can still carry a lance. The result is pitiful: 375 secular knights, roughly 80 Templars, a few thousand infantry, 5,000 men at most, against 22,000. It is suicide. But Baldwin will not abandon Ascalon or Jerusalem. On 18 November, he rides out carrying the holiest relic in Christendom, the true cross. The sight of the bandaged boy king at the head of his tiny army silences every doubter. Saladin, overconfident, lets his army spread out to plunder. Discipline dissolves. On the night of 24 November, a captured Bedouin reveals the exact location of Saladin's headquarters. Baldwin decides dawn. At first light, on 25 November, the feast of St. Catherine, the Crusader army marches out. They crest the ridge above Montgisard as the sun rises. The Muslim camp is still half asleep. 400 heavy knights lower their lances and charge. And the legend of Montgisard and of Baldwin the Leper King has only just begun.
The charge begins at the exact moment the Muslim camp is weakest. The sun has barely cleared the horizon. Most of Saladin's army is still cooking breakfast or praying. The left dispatch wing, commanded by his nephew, Taqi al-Din, is caught literally with their horses unsaddled. The first thing Taqi al-Din knows of the battle is the ground shaking as 400 iron-clad horsemen come thundering down the slope in perfect line, lances lowered, the black and white Templar banners snapping above their heads. The impact is beyond anything the chroniclers can describe. One Muslim eyewitness simply writes, "It was as though the mountain itself fell on us." Lances punch clean through lamellar armor and the men wearing it. Horses rear and crash backward, crushing their own riders. The second rank of knights is already on them, swords rising and falling in perfect rhythm. Renaud of Chatillon, the most hated Frank in the Muslim world, rides at the tip of the wedge. He kills the standard-bearer of the Egyptian guard with a single backhand stroke and tramples the green silk banner into the bloody sand. In the center of the camp, Saladin has just finished the dawn prayer. He steps out of his pavilion in a plain wool robe, still holding his coffee cup. The cup falls from his hand and shatters when he sees the white wave of Templars cutting straight toward his position. His bodyguard, the elite Tawashi in gilded helmets, scrambled to form a line. They manage one ragged volley of arrows before the Frankish second wave hits them. Dozens of knights go down, horses screaming, but nothing stops the charge. Saladin is on foot within minutes. His magnificent white Arabian is killed beneath him by a crossbow bolt. 30 of his personal Mamluks form a circle around him, shields locked, spears out. Frankish knights ride rings around them, probing, stabbing. One Templar, a giant from Flanders, later identified as Girard de Ridefort, charges straight into the circle alone. His lance takes a Mamluk through the throat. He drops the broken shaft, draws his sword, and starts carving. He loses his right hand to a saber blow, but keeps fighting with the stump until a second cut opens his neck. He bleeds out, still swinging. By 9 o'clock, the Muslim army is fracturing. Entire regiments throw down weapons and run. The Bedouin auxiliaries turn on their own side and start looting the baggage train. Sudanese archers drop their 6-foot bows and sprint south. Baldwin watches from his litter on a low rise. Arrows thud into the wooden frame around him. One pierces the cushion inches from his face. He never flinches. Every time the Frankish line wavers, the litter is carried forward so the knights can see their king is still there. The sight alone is worth 1,000 men. Around noon, the Franks reach Saladin's personal baggage train. 40 camel loads of gold, silk carpets from Bukhara, Frankish prisoners in chains, even the Sultan's private harem tent. The Templars go berserk. One sergeant, Jacques de Mailly, fights his way to the war chest and stands over it with 6 brothers as the battle rages around them. They kill 37 men between them before the area is secure. Jacques loses an eye and both ears, but survives. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it is no longer a battle. It is extermination. The sand is black and sticky for miles. Vultures descend in such numbers they blot out the sun.
Saladin's final escape is one of the most humiliating moments in medieval history. His last 19 bodyguards form a rear guard and die to the last man in a perfect circle, facing outward. Their commander, Qaimaz al-Najmi, is found with his sword broken and 20 lance wounds in his chest. Saladin himself mounts a racing camel, the fastest animal left in the camp, and flees wearing only a cotton shirt and a wool cap. His ceremonial turban, worth a fortune, lies trampled in the dirt. The pursuit lasts until nightfall. Some Frankish knights ride so far their horses collapse beneath them. The final count is staggering. Muslim sources admit 9,000 to 10,000 dead on the field. Another 5,000 to 6,000 perish in the desert over the following weeks. Thirst, Bedouin raiders, exposure. Saladin's grand army has been gutted in a single day. The Franks lose perhaps 1,100 men, mostly infantry who pursued too far. 11 knights of the 400 fall. Their names will be written in gold in the Cathedral of Bethlehem.
When the sun sets on 25 November 1177, the true cross is planted on the exact spot where Saladin's green banner flew that morning. The knights camp among the corpses, too exhausted to bury their own dead. They light bonfires with the wreckage of the Muslim tents and sing psalms until dawn. Saladin does not stop riding for 10 days. And the story of Montgisard, the day 400 men and a dying boy broke the strongest army in the world, is only half told. Stay with me. The aftermath, the revenge, and the slow, terrible death of Baldwin IV are still ahead.
Night falls on the plain of Montgisard like a black curtain soaked in blood. The Frankish army, 5,000 men who marched out expecting death, now sit in the middle of a field of corpses that stretches farther than torchlight can reach. The moon rises red. The groans of dying horses and men never stop. Jackals are already at work. The smell is so thick that seasoned knights vomit behind their shields. The Templars form a silent ring around the true cross. Their white mantles are now black and crimson. They do not speak. They do not celebrate. They kneel and sing the psalms of victory until their voices crack. Baldwin IV cannot sleep. The day's exertion has torn open the sores on his legs and back. Pus and blood soak the linen. His physicians beg to treat him. He waves them away. He stays propped in his litter, watching the fires, whispering prayers no one can hear. Far to the south, Saladin begins the longest 10 days of his life. He is on a racing camel, 17 survivors clinging to whatever mounts remain. They ride into the freezing Sinai night with no food, almost no water, and the glow of their burning camp behind them. Every village they pass has heard the rumors. Gates stay barred. Bedouin who took Saladin's gold a week ago now hunt the survivors like jackals. For 10 straight days, Saladin rides like this. On the 7th night, he collapses beside a brackish well and weeps, the only time any source ever records Saladin crying. His secretary writes, "The Sultan kept repeating, 'How has God abandoned his believers to the infidels?' When he finally staggers into Cairo on 8 December, the garrison almost shoots him. They do not recognize the ragged, barefoot man as the great Saladin. Within a month, he has executed 37 officers. Within a year, he has rebuilt the army, larger, better disciplined, paid directly from the Egyptian treasury, so no soldier can ever loot and run again. He creates a new elite guard, the Salahia Mamluks, and swears them never to flee. From this day forward, he will never again divide his forces for plunder. Montgisard scars him forever."
In Jerusalem, the celebration is apocalyptic. Messengers ride north, dragging captured banners in the dust. In Jerusalem itself, the true cross is carried in solemn procession from the battlefield to the Holy Sepulchre. Behind it march thousands of Muslim prisoners in chains, barefoot, heads shaved. The great emirs forced to walk, while Frankish children throw filth and stones. Baldwin IV is carried through the streets on a litter of crimson and gold. The crowd roars itself hoarse. For one brief, blazing moment, the leper boy is the new Judas Maccabeus, the new David who slew Goliath with 400 knights instead of a sling. The loot is beyond counting. 40,000 gold dinars, 6,000 horses, Saladin's personal library, even his silver coffee set. And yet, even in the middle of the triumph, Baldwin knows the truth. This was a miracle, not a solution. Saladin will return, colder, angrier, more careful. The victory at Montgisard does not heal Baldwin. It accelerates the disease. By spring 1178, the leprosy has marched across his face. He begins wearing a silver mask in public so his own subjects do not have to look at him. He is 17 years old. Yet he refuses to slow down. 1178 to 1183. Raid after raid, victory after victory, each one tearing another piece of his body away. In 1183, at 21, he is now completely blind, paralyzed below the waist, his body one continuous wound. In May, Saladin invades again with 40,000 men. Baldwin is carried out on his litter. For 2 days the armies stare at each other. Saladin remembers Montgisard. He refuses to attack. After 48 hours he withdraws. That autumn, the king's body finally collapses. On his deathbed, he crowns his 5-year-old nephew co-king, strips Guy of Lusignan of power, and whispers, "Let me feel something before I go." On 16 March 1185, Baldwin IV dies in Jerusalem. He is 23 years old. They wrap his body in 40 pounds of spices because the stench is unbearable even through the bandages. Knights who fought at Montgisard sobbed like children. Muslim prisoners on the rooftops weep too. Saladin sends official condolences. He means every word.
1 year later, the child king is dead. Guy of Lusignan seizes the throne. Renaud of Châtillon breaks the truce by attacking a rich Muslim caravan. Saladin declares total jihad. 4th July 1187, the Horns of Hattin. The entire Frankish army is lured into a waterless trap and annihilated. The true cross is captured. Jerusalem falls 3 months later. Saladin walks into the holy city on the anniversary of the Prophet's night journey. He orders the golden cross torn from the dome of the rock. Everything Baldwin fought for, everything 400 knights bought with rivers of blood at Montgisard, is gone in a single summer. Yet even in victory, Saladin never forgets the boy who humiliated him. Years later, when Richard the Lionheart asked which Frankish king he feared most, Saladin answers without hesitation, "Not you, Lionheart. I feared a dead boy who rode against me when he could no longer ride at all. A boy with no face, no fear, and fire in his heart. Had he lived another 10 years, Jerusalem would still be yours." That boy was Baldwin IV. That ride was Montgisard.
The men who rode that day never really came home. Renaud of Châtillon, beheaded by Saladin's own hand after Hattin. Balian of Ibelin lived to defend Jerusalem again, died old, scarred from Montgisard. Gerard of Rediford lost his hand that day, later led the Templars to disaster, his severed head paraded on a spear. Jacques de Mailly guarded the war chest, lost both ears and an eye. Every 25th of November forced the garrison to drink sand mixed with wine, so you never forget what the desert tasted like when we were gods for 1 day. The true cross vanished after Hattin. Some say buried with Saladin, some say still beneath the Temple Mount. The hill of Montgisard is quiet now. Orange groves and wheat fields. In 2018, archaeologists found a mass grave, 147 skeletons, all cut to pieces, reburied without ceremony. Baldwin's tomb was destroyed in a fire in 1808. Nothing remains. Yet every Muslim chronicle ends with the same phrase, "May God have mercy on him, for he was a brave enemy." And every old knight who survived, when November came, would say, "On that day we rode behind a dead boy, and the gates of hell opened, and then closed again." That is the final truth of Montgisard.
400 men and a king who was already a corpse looked into the abyss on 25 November 1177, and the abyss looked away first.
Jerusalem, October 1187. Saladin rides through the gate of David beneath a green banner. He walks alone to the place where Baldwin's tomb had been. The tomb is broken open. Nothing is left except a cracked stone slab and a faint smell of myrrh and decay that still lingers. He stands there a long time. Then he gives one command no one expects. Let no man ever remove the name of the leper boy from this place. He was the only enemy I ever truly feared. That night Saladin cannot sleep. His physician finds him staring at a small object wrapped in silk, a blood-stained scrap of Templar mantle from Montgisard, carried against his heart for 10 years. He died 4 years later. On his deathbed, he ordered a shroud carried before his funeral procession with the words, "Here lies Salah al-Din. He conquered much, but took nothing with him to the grave except this cloth." When the shroud was lifted, the crowd saw the same piece of white mantle, stiff with old blood. And that is the final, quiet echo of the battle no one should have won. 400 knights, one dying boy, one piece of the true cross, and a scar that never healed on the soul of the man who finally destroyed them all. The sand has covered the blood. The names are wind. Only the story remains. Carry it. Guard it. Because some fires, once lit, refuse to die. Deus Vult.
If Montgisard just wrecked you, welcome to the Best History channel on YouTube. Subscribe right now and smash the bell. You're not ready for what's coming next.